Hello, Healing Spot community. This is Justine Calderwood, physical therapist here at the Healing Spot Physical Therapy. And today I'm going to be talking about labor tips for a smoother birth, okay? So I am going to start a little bit by just quickly reviewing what happens when you have a vaginal delivery. So as you're in the birthing process, baby comes down through the pelvic inlet here. So we're just looking at the female pelvis here. So as baby starts descending down, then what happens is mom's body has to be able to open up and accommodate for that. So what will happen is this will kind of open up like this. So the ilium will open up like this, and the sacrum will open up kind of towards the back. Okay, so baby's head will come into here. So then as baby comes down, turns just a little bit and hits the pelvic floor muscles are on the bottom here, kind of creating a basket. So when baby's head hits the pelvic floor muscles, mom's body is stimulated to open up the other way. So the ischium here will open up and the sacrum will tilt back, okay, to allow a bigger outlet, okay, for baby to come on through. So one thing that partners can do, so spouse, partner, whoever's assisting you during birth, what they can do is actually come behind you, depending on which phase you're in. They can actually help to assist through the ilia, or of pressing very gently inward like this, and then in the later stages they can actually be kind of the other way behind and pulling open like this. Okay, so you can imagine if you're in a position where you're maybe squatting or leaning forward, that kind of thing, then someone can be in here assisting. And so a lot of doulas and midwives do this to help during the labor and delivery process, but this is something that partners can be taught as well. Okay, depends on where you plan on birthing. If you're going to be birthing at home, in a freestanding birth center, or in a hospital. So sometimes the staff, depending on who you're asking to assist you, knows this and does this for you, but sometimes they don't, so partners can be taught. So I'm going to go over some tips. They're not really in any particular order. It's just things that I have learned over time and wanted to share with you. So exploring different birth positions and not being afraid to try them out. So again, depends on where you're birthing, but it's okay if you want to try, say, squatting or being up on all fours, side lying, and the most common is being on your back. Okay, but keep in mind that depending on the position that you're in, if you can keep the pelvis open somewhat, so squatting and all fours keeps the pelvis open so it can go through that mobility, where when you're lying down on your back, it makes the sacrum, anchors it, and so what has to happen is these the ischium have to come up and open up a little bit more, okay? So it doesn't allow full mobility. Same thing with sideline. If you're, a lot of times they'll allow sideline during labor and delivery, and what has to happen is this right side has to open up a little bit more. So being able to keep this open allows your body to go through that normal mobility, okay, and cause just an easier birth. Learning how to relax and contract your pelvic floor muscles. So a lot of women, I find, don't know if they are relaxed or contracted through their pelvic floor muscles, okay? So if you are one of those people and you keep your pelvic floor muscles kind of, again, this basket underneath, if that is tense pretty much all day long, or a good chunk of your day, what's going to happen is those muscles start to shorten up, okay? So you can imagine that that's where baby needs to come through, okay? So if those muscles are really tense and sore, not sore, but tense and tight, it's not going to have as much give, so that kind of birth door is not going to be as flexible to be able to open, okay? So knowing whether you are contracting through those muscles or whether you're relaxed, and being relaxed is not the same as bearing down. We don't want you to be bearing down, okay? So learning that ahead of time can make a really big difference during the birth process. Trusting your body, so that's one thing. It depends on how much trust you already have with your body, how much internal feedback you have, and how much you trust the process of birth and your ability to do this, okay? Mindset is a big thing. So if you're going into your birth with a lot of fear and doubt for yourself, then that can take an effect during the birth process, okay? Let's see, I'm just getting my notes here. Preparing a birth plan. So, again, mindset. So having that plan ahead of time. And maybe things don't go exactly as you plan, but even working through your mind, okay, if this doesn't happen, but maybe this happens, can I be okay with that kind of thing? But having that birth plan, sharing it ahead of time with the people that are going to be supporting you. So sharing that with your your midwife or your OB, sharing it with the labor delivery nurse during delivery, or your doula, that kind of thing. So having that plan, and then also being able to kind of mentally prepare yourself the best you can, that if things don't happen according to plan, that's, again, trusting the process. Creating an environment that you need to feel empowered, safe, and well. So some things that this may be a part of your birth plan, but consider the lighting, soft lighting, maybe a certain music playlist that you have going, essential oils, maybe in a diffuser like peace and calming or lavender, things that, that are meaningful to you, a warm bath. Maybe you like massage and touch, so talking to your support people about what you want to have in this environment. Maybe it looks like walking to you, where you're getting up and you're able to move around, okay? Sitting or leaning onto a big ball, those kinds of things, so that you have, again, creating this environment that's going to be conducive for you to be in your best place mentally and physically. Let's see, surrounding yourself with people that empower you and support you, okay? So don't be afraid to speak up for what you need, including getting more clarification if there are interventions that you're not quite sure about, getting more clarification or information from your providers, so that you can make informed decisions about your care and care for your baby. I believe knowledge is power, is very powerful. So reading, taking birth classes, doing some information, researching information ahead of time, and knowing enough that it's not going to scare you, but not just kind of going in blindly, unless that's your style in life and that works out really well for you. But for some people, winging it isn't necessarily a great plan, okay? You can get a pre-birth assessment from a physical therapist that specializes in helping pregnant and postpartum moms. So I am a certified birth healing specialist with the Institute for Birth Healing, and can help you prepare for a natural childbirth. So one of the things that we check, 3 things. So one is just checking the pelvic and sacral mobility. So we can look at that ahead of time. Even with a big growing belly, I can check to see, are these bones moving the way that they need to move during that birthing process, and that can alleviate a lot of worry and stress ahead of time. Uterine mobility, so checking that with moms, and where is baby sitting, and is there enough mobility in that uterus to allow baby to come on down. And then also just checking the birth door. So we talk about the birth door being these pelvic floor muscles. So this is something that can be assessed in the later stages as well, to see how flexible these pelvic floor muscles are, and how in tune you are and aware of what's going on there. So are you contracting? Are you able to relax without bearing down? So that's something that I work on with moms as well. And we think we're really highly sensitive in that area, and we just simply aren't. And a lot of people, because of prior injuries or traumas or just belief systems, it can really affect the awareness down into that pelvic space, okay? So that's something that I work on with moms. So doing that pre-birth assessment with somebody that's trained to do that. I do want to say that I do have a body aware class coming up. It's going to be taking place next week, where I'm going to be going through not all of that, but talking to moms and helping them to feel down into that pelvic space, and helping moms to connect and be able to know whether they're contracting or whether they're relaxing the pelvic floor. So this is really designed a class that for anybody that's really hoping and planning for a vaginal delivery, possibly a unmedicated natural delivery at home, in a birth center, or even in the hospital. And we're going to go over things about the basic anatomy. We're going to go over this a little bit more in depth than what I've done today, as well as the ins and outs of how the pelvis moves and shifts, different birth positions, and then also just how best to connect to your core and your pelvic floor. So if you are planning that natural childbirth at home, birth center or hospital, this would be a great class for you. If you're worried whether you are prepared for natural childbirth, it's a great class. If you want to set the stage for the best recovery after baby arrives, we're going to talk about some of the things that moms get worried about, including like prolapse, leaking, as well as hemorrhoids. So we're going to talk about that. And then also just if you want the best possible chance to avoid an episiotomy or tearing of the perineum. So if you're interested, that's going to be taking place on May 14th, Tuesday evening. It's an hour-and-a-half class. You can sign up on my website, healingspotpt.com, or reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about that. But otherwise, I hope you found these tips helpful. And if you have any questions, please reach out. So enjoy your week, everybody. Bye-bye.